My name is Joe Weber. I'm based in sunny Los Angeles, California.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast series. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating lady coming to us all the way from the US. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Sure thing. Well, thank you, Gertrude. My name is Joe Weber. I'm based in sunny Los Angeles, California, in the United States. So a little bit later in the day, but the day before for me right now with the time zone. But thank you. Thanks for having me on. I think, originally, you asked where I'm from. Originally, I'm from England, from the United Kingdom. I still have the accent. And I think, what I'd like to talk to you guys about today a bit is I run a company. I actually run two companies, right? Jack Dorsey can do it, so can a woman, right? I run two companies right now. I run one company that's called STEM Connector, and I run another company that's called Pod. And Pod is a networking technology. And I think we actually have 26,000 users in New Zealand. So it's been around for a while. But let's talk about STEM Connector. And
first, yes,
in particular, a part of STEM Connector called Million Women Mentors. And we set this up in 2014. And the goal was to try and get a million women, right? Because that was the name, a million women mentoring other women. And the reason for this is particularly in STEM, we can see that women, when they go into STEM, they tend to leave. And we can see that the women that stay in STEM careers often have a mentor. So that seems to be an important part of it. So what we do is we work with corporations, some of our biggest customers, clients like Pepsi-Cola, 3M, very large US corporations that are very dedicated to this approach and mentoring women. And also, I think one of the things that we really focus on, earlier this year, we put out a report, which was the state of diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM. And we update that continuously. We're very focused in on, when you look at these corporations, they need a stream of STEM talent, and they also need diverse STEM talent coming into their corporations for them to thrive. So we are the connecting group that kind of makes that happen. I don't know how many of you guys know this, but this pandemic has disproportionately affected women. And in the United States, we've lost 5 million women from the workforce, and we are now at a 36-year low in terms of women in employment. So
wow, that high.
It's crazy. And when you look at things like, you look at the Fortune 500, which is a big indicator in the US, right? 7% of the CEOs are women. 7%, right? Thanks, guys. Thanks for letting us get there. 7%. Well, with this pandemic, we just wiped out a large rung below those because the senior ranks of many of these companies were starting to get larger numbers of women on there. So you're starting to see more like 25%, 30% of women at the senior executive level who would then become potentially the next CEO. Well, the trouble with COVID is so many women ended up, and I know one, a professional woman who I thought was fantastic running a business. And all of a sudden she found herself with 2 adult children at home, badly affected by the pandemic. And she's just like, I can't run this business and take care of my family. And it's mostly the women that end up taking care of the families.
Yes.
So one of the things we are looking at the moment is we're looking at a new movement called A Million Women Workers.
Okay.
What we are looking to do is, I don't know how many people know this, but about 50% of people who have STEM careers, you don't actually have to have a 4-year degree. So we are looking at, you've got Microsoft, you've got Google, you've got a number of different companies offering these certification programs where you can spend 6 months intensive, come out with a really useful certification that the jobs that the corporations are looking for.
Right.
So we're looking at projects where we can help reskill and retrain give women the skills that they need to get back into the workforce, because a lot of the jobs they had have just gone away.
Yeah.
But then, Gertrude, I don't know if you know things like cybersecurity, right? During the pandemic, the number of cybersecurity attacks went up sevenfold. So it's 700% increase during the pandemic.
Right.
Cyber thieves are taking advantage. It's a global problem. It's a problem of national security in every country.
Everywhere.
There's zero unemployment, right? In cybersecurity, we can't get enough people in cybersecurity to meet the need. And yet
that's really interesting, because my husband is in IT, and he's just been approached by an agency saying, hey, have you thought of, diversifying and specializing in cybersecurity? So it is a real thing.
It's
wow.
Huge. It's huge. And one of the things is you come out of school with a 4-year degree, and what do you know about cybersecurity? Nothing.
Wow.
One of the things, we're doing a few projects. Last year, we did a project with Walmart in the US, and it was focused on introducing cybersecurity. And working with Walmart, we introduced a program for elementary kids, which, you think, the K, you probably don't do
K-12, right?
Oh, you do, K through 8, right?
Yes.
So at that age. And we think, how can like a 6-year-old handle cybersecurity? Well, it was really cute and well done. I thought it was, okay, go find grandma and find one of the programs where grandma is logging in. Maybe it's her email or something, and find out what her password is, and then help grandma pick a password that is really easy for grandma to remember, but really difficult for anyone to guess. So I thought that was lovely, right? Because it's just an early kind of introduction to get kids thinking about this.
Yeah.
And then it also staged and went, for all the way through high school, so different levels could kind of understand it.
That is absolutely fascinating.
So
now this program that you're offering, and I'm so excited that I got to meet you. We had our little conversation a bit earlier, and I told you what my vision and my passion is in the world. I have so many women, so many intelligent women who are looking for opportunities like this. When I lectured at the University of New Mexico, I got involved with a nonprofit called Cultivating Coders. And we were on the reservations of New Mexico because the only employment you can find there is in the casinos, and there's fiber optics throughout the desert.
Yep.
And our project was sponsored by Microsoft. They gave us the laptops that we would gift the women if they did the boot camp and they completed. And they learned how to make apps. They learned how to make websites. They learned how to make an income sitting on the reservation, because they had the infrastructure to allow them to do that. Now, in parts of Africa, it's the same thing. And that's the vision that I have. And I'm just so excited when you responded to this query and to do this interview at the possibility of perhaps bringing this to Africa, because I really think Africa is the next frontier.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are not focused on it when it comes to technology. And yet we have brilliant, articulate women who would work their butts off just to get an education, get a qualification, so that she's able to feed her children. How can we get involved? Talk to me.
So, there's a number of different things we're doing. One of the things that we're doing that is just starting this year, we have employers, right? These corporations that work with STEM Connector. They're all over the world. And I think particularly after COVID, I think everybody's learned that you don't actually have to physically be in an office to be productive.
To do the work, yes.
So one of the things we're doing with them is, if you go to like LinkedIn or Indeed and some of these other areas to try and find jobs, if you're just coming out of university or coming out of school, you don't have those qualifications, you don't have the experience, but yet these companies are looking for people like you. So how do we match it up? So what we're doing is we are creating an environment where all of our members can post any jobs or internships. Internships is a great way to get in. A lot of people don't know this. You can be an intern at NASA at age 16.
Are you serious?
And then that often leads to a career through NASA, right? How fabulous is that kind of thing?
Oh my gosh.
We're going to I think so much of this is networks, right? white men have the best networks.
Yeah.
And 70% of jobs, you never even see them advertised.
They don't get advertised. It's all passed on through word of mouth.
Exactly. So if we can make it more in the open, if we can put these jobs out there, and because it's on the internet, anyone in the world can see and apply to some of these jobs. Now, some of them will be, geofenced, they'll be in a certain area, but not all of them will. And most of the corporations that we work with are global. So they've got offices forever, all over the world. So I do think that's going to be something that levels the playing field.
Yes.
And then, Gertrude, you were talking a bit earlier about, before we got on the camera, about some of the things you're doing. I feel 2020, although it was an awful year in many ways,
it's the best year ever.
Sitting in America, I saw things change. Things that would have taken 50 years
to happen.
It happened.
The women who are able to work from home and look after their kids, you can work around. So it's the same thing with me, right? Everybody kept saying, oh, this is a disaster. I was watching something online. I can't remember what it was, but somebody was presenting and saying that the Chinese write the word for crisis with two symbols. One stands for opportunity, one stands for danger.
Yeah, I've been using that. That a lot.
Great minds think alike.
Because there was a lot of opportunity that came out of it. I mean, some of it is these vaccines, the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines. We went forward years in terms of vaccine manufacture with the way those two vaccines are made. And I think it's going to be great for so many other things, including cancer, Alzheimer's, other immune system disorders. I just think this wouldn't have happened. We'd never made a vaccine in America in under 4 years. 4 years was our gold standard until this hit. But
then people started sharing
the scientific community across the world. It was fabulous to see. So I totally agree with that Chinese proverb. The opportunity was there. And I also think, in America, a lot of social ills that have plagued us as a society for many years came to the foreground last year.
It did.
And the lid is not going back on that box.
No. It's funny. I had a conversation with another lady the other day who was saying to me, oh, it's so sad what's happening. And I said, no, what's actually happened to the United States is this. The race relations issue in the United States had not been fully addressed. Everybody thought that through the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, it was taken care of. And to me, watching it from an outsider and having lived in the US a couple of times, it was like somebody had slapped a Band-Aid on a septic sore.
Yeah.
And the pus in that wound was festering for years. And the presidency that was in place helped to pull the Band-Aid off.
It out, didn't it? Yeah.
And now the community, the society has to address the septic sore.
Yeah.
I talk about an African philosophy called Ubuntu, and Linux is based on this philosophy. Ubuntu ngamuntu ngabantu says a person is only a person through other people. That as human beings, we are an organism. We are so interconnected. There is no difference between us. What we see as our facial differences is only skin deep. Yeah. And when they finished sequencing the human genome, they found that every single human being on this planet is 99.9% the same. So COVID has come to teach us that we are literally a breath away from affecting and infecting each other. That if one person in the world is not okay, we're all not okay.
Yeah. No.
And I am so excited, Joe, with what is coming.
Yes. I can see
what
it.
has happened.
I can see the change here. I can see, I think it's really drastic in America. Yeah. I've been working a number of years and I've been working in large corporations, and people would feel, and I've mostly worked with men because I'm a scientist, I'm a PhD, right? So I've mostly been with guys, and people would feel it was fine to be openly sexist and racist. And for years that happened, this old boys club. And I feel that's Somebody's
It's
just
over.
close the door. The party's over, boys. You're going to have to get with the picture here.
There's no going back. And that's why I was saying to you, the number of opportunities I'm getting to present sitting on my couch at home. Yesterday I had a company based in the US called McCormick's. I think they make spices.
Yeah.
And they're having this diversity and inclusion thing in Poland. It was the McCormick's Poland that got hold of me. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? I'm sitting on my couch in New Zealand.
It's really cool.
The world is flat now because of the technology, because of the internet.
Also, I think in America, we really respect your prime minister.
Yes. She's really amazing. She's amazing. The reaction and the response that New Zealand took is an example of what should have happened everywhere else in the world.
Absolutely. It was, and we saw that, so she's got a lot of respect. I think New Zealand's hitting above its weight class right now, right? You guys.
And I feel blessed I'm here. I'll be honest with you. This is my second pandemic, and never in my lifetime did I think I would be so fortunate. So let me ask you this question. If I could take you back to the younger you, that young woman who was working in a very, very challenging environment as a scientist and is now able to reflect back on what you've done with your career. If you could have a conversation with that younger woman and give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, what would you tell her about life?
The big thing is the things that are possible now for a woman were not possible when I was young. The road I took, I probably would, if I was to do it again, to do things now, I'd do things a bit differently, but that's because the world is different. So I think, when I was younger, and I think most people are like this, and you go to university, you don't really know what you want to do. But I found my passion in work. So any of my work that I've done, I've thrown myself into it wholeheartedly. And I still kind of feel that that's the right thing to do. Maybe I look back and think, oh, wait, I shouldn't have stayed so long in that company, or I shouldn't have, but it's small stuff. I think at the end of the day, the passion to work and the ability to find pleasure in your work is tremendous, because so much of our lives are work. Yeah. So I think, looking back, saying to somebody, I was just such a knucklehead when I was like 18, 19 at university, jumping off bridges, swimming, doing stupid stuff, really stupid stuff. Like my kids, I'm like, oh, you don't do that, right? Nobody would do anything like that. Riding motorbikes, all this stuff, right? So I think now, looking back, I'm probably a little bit lucky to be alive with some of the scrapes, but maybe don't do some of that stuff. But living life to its fullest. I also think I've always embraced this. People, you mentioned that comment earlier about humanity as an organism. One of the things COVID did is it brought all of humanity together.
Yes, it has united us in a very, very strange way. Mm-hmm. Jo, when I came to New Zealand, I would tell stories of the AIDS pandemic. And I would share how my grandmother had 11 children, 34 grandchildren, 19 of my first cousins died of HIV-related diseases. Wow. Yeah, including my youngest brother. I'll talk about having 49 orphaned kids on my side of the family alone, another 40 on my ex-husband's side. I could see people's eyes glazing over like I was telling a fiction story, like it wasn't true. And now we're seeing this all over the world. We have been united in a
that's interesting.
Very interesting way. Yeah.
I think you're right. It's very interesting because you're right. I think in America and in the UK and other parts of the world, it was, this is something that's happening to gay men. And I don't really know any gay men. So it's happening to them.
You can't relate to it.
And then it was happening in Africa. So it was happening to Africa and gay men.
Yes.
But they weren't personally connected. Yeah. And I still think it blows me away, to be honest with you, this absolutely blows me away. We've had so many people here, and so many in America. There's a guy who's been a 55-year-old guy who's telling everybody the pandemic's made up, doesn't exist. And then the next thing you know, he's on a ventilator. Oh. And you just
The stupidity of it. It's
How can you say it doesn't exist? I mean, I don't know what's the death toll now? It's over 500 million.
500 million. Yeah. And you don't believe it. What do you want to see?
Yeah. I think that's the number of cases. Let me just have a look at. One of our clients, Johns Hopkins. I don't know if you've seen it. They did a fabulous job when this first came out. They created a tracking environment. So at any time, if you go to Johns Hopkins, they are tracking all of the COVID cases around the world. I mean, as much as you can, because it's not always reported, right?
Yeah.
They just done a phenomenal job with it. So you can look, I'm looking right now, worldwide. Okay, so we're tracking, I mean, this thing is not gone, right? April 30th, 14,000 people lost their lives on that day, to COVID. So it's still, this thing is still very much out there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you all day, Jo. You are like a sister from another mother. I am so happy I got connected with you through this interview.
I'm going to have to come to Wellington now and take you out for a glass of wine.
Definitely. Consider that already done. I just want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in. The Herstory platform is a platform that uplifts, inspires, educates women worldwide. And it's through the sharing of these stories that we can make a difference. I think Jo has presented all of us with an amazing opportunity to have a career change. You could be that mom who's lost her job and you're sitting at home. Now you have a place to go. Jo, just give us the name of your website.
So, we are stemconnector.com.
Excellent. And I will put this with a transcript and with a magazine article that we're going to publish, so that all of you ladies, you might know somebody who is looking for work, who's looking to pivot and find a different direction to take advantage of the internet. The world is flat right now, ladies. You have no excuse to say that you can't feed your children, you can't find a job. Create something of your own. The world is flat and we have the mentors who can help us get there. Thank you for putting this app together, Jo. I'm excited to where you and I are going to go.
Yeah.
And we will have that wine in Wellington when you come.
We will.
Have a fantastic day, everybody. Jo, don't go away. I will be back with you tomorrow when we come back with another amazing guest. This is Gertrude Mache on the Herstory TV and the Herstory podcast. Have a great day wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.